Good morning, Mathlete and Filmmakers. It is Friday, August 30th, and Caitlin, I still cannot believe you're in California. Your new apartment looks so cool, and I'm really glad you're making new friends and everything, and like going to grad school parties. And how is it that I've been here for 3 years, and you've been here for a week, and you've been to Disneyland and I haven't? I need to sort out my priorities. And although my classes don't start for another month, while we may not have to share our feelings, we will all still be crying on the first day of classes. Sometimes you just see a formula, and it's so complicated, you just want to weep for days. Anyway, this week I want to start a new segment. Are you ever just going through day-to-day life and someone says something or a thought hits you and presents you with a question and you just can't get it out of your mind, and then you happily spend hours doing research on the internet until you know the answer? Well, that happens to me a lot, and so I am going to start a monthly segment wherein I tell you about all the fun facts I learned in the previous month. In today's segment, guess you didn't know that. I'm going to try to make each segment a pun on the name of the month, but considering that's what we're starting with, that may not happen. So Garms just got back from India a while ago, and when she was moving back in, she was like, "Oh man, I hate lugging around luggage." And then it occurred to me, which word came first? Do we say lug because we called it luggage, or do we call it luggage because we hated to lug it? Well, turns out it's the latter. The verb to lug first made an appearance in the late 14th century, and the word luggage did not appear until the 1590s. Well, there's a fun fact for you, but don't worry, I have better ones coming up. Now, the next question that presented itself to me this past month was where the heart symbol comes from. You know, this one. Because it, of course, does not resemble an anatomical heart. The first use of the heart symbol has been found on cave walls that date back well before the last ice age, but they're not really sure what the intended meaning behind the symbol was. That shape did not become universally acknowledged to represent the human heart, or love, or the emotion until the Middle Ages. And there are several theories as to the origin of its shape. The heart shape was originally oriented with the point upwards. This may be because back in the 13th century, people thought the heart looked like a pine cone. Others believe it to be the sexualized body shapes, breasts, butts, bits, and balls. But perhaps most disconcerting of all, people believe it is based on the silphium plant seed. The now extinct plant grew in northern Africa in the Roman era and was used as birth control. So now the shape we identify with everlasting love might have come about because it used to help people prevent pregnancy. So the jury's still out on that one, but none of them are really good origin stories. So the next question that arose this month was when we were considering the triple point of water. This triple point of a substance is the temperature and pressure at which it can exist in all three states simultaneously. It's common for water to exist as both a liquid and a gas at its boiling point. It's also common for it to exist as a liquid and a solid at its freezing point. But it's crazy to wrap your head around the fact that you could have something exist as a gas, a liquid, and a solid all at the same time. Well, we found a YouTube video on it, and turns out the triple point of water is at 0.01 degrees Celsius and a really low pressure, like less than 0.01 atmospheres low. And so then, since we were sort of on the topic of temperature, we next asked, who was the first person to come up with the idea of absolute zero? Absolute zero is the coldest temperature at which something can exist, where it has absolutely no thermal energy. That is at negative 273 degrees Celsius, or 0 degrees Kelvin. The Kelvin scale is just a shifted Celsius scale so that absolute zero falls at zero. The same type of thing is true for the Rankine scale, but with Fahrenheit. Absolute zero is at 0 degrees Rankine, or negative 460 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, this is still theoretical. We've never actually hit absolute zero. But the first person to suggest it was Robert Boyle. And the first person to actually try to calculate it in 1702 was this French guy whose name I'm not even going to try to pronounce. And then Johann Heinrich Lambert found a more accurate value in 1779, and yet neither of these guys have a scale named after them. Kelvin didn't even come in until 1848, but he went about proving it in a more theoretical way using the laws of thermodynamics instead of an experimental method. But this is the really fun fact. Kelvin is not his real name. It should be called the Thomson scale. He was actually given the title Baron Kelvin due to his scientific advancements. And the name Kelvin actually comes from the River Kelvin, which flowed close to his lab at the University of Glasgow. So when you go back and look at his scientific achievements, some of them are under the name Kelvin, and some are under the name Thomson, like the Joule-Thomson effect in thermodynamics. Crazy stuff, right? You'd think once you get a name going in the scientific world, you'd want to stick with it. But no, he wants to be Lord Baron Kelvin. I don't know how British titles work. I'm not sure if you call someone a lord and a baron at the same time, but whatever. And last one for this month, eye patches. I always thought they were used to like cover up hideous holes in pirates' eye sockets because they lost them during a fight. Why it never occurred to me that surely all pirates did not have exactly one eye gouged out, I can't tell you. Maybe I thought it was some sort of special pirate fighting technique where you put on your hook and said, "Aye, matey, go for the eye." But no, turns out it's because pirates and even sailors were often switching between the brightness above deck and the darkness below deck, and they put the eye patch on so that they could always have one eye that is adjusted to the dark. And some even speculated that eye patches are good for overcoming seasickness. But either way, mind blown. Anyway, I apologize for the amount of science that was in this month's guess you didn't know this. Turns out I like science, and I get curious about a lot of sciencey things, so you may continue to see that in the future. Sorry, at least I didn't bore you with any really dull math fun facts. But for the Mathletes, I'm Susan. For the film majors, Caitlin will be back next Wednesday. And Caitlin, you looked altogether too bored in your video on Wednesday. So, if you ever need something to do, come visit me. I still have a present for you. Everybody, have a great weekend.